Robert Kirkland, welcome to CamTalks.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Look forward to getting on with it.
Thank you very much for coming. I believe you're in the process of construction at the moment, so I'm very grateful that you found the time to cut away from all that.
No problem. A little bit of DIY, a little bit of painting, all good.
Yeah. Are you much of a DIY man? Do you DIY yourself, or?
I'm learning a lot on the job. I've never had a huge amount of need to do a colossal amount. Spent a lot of time in rented accommodation throughout my sort of 20s and early 30s. So I didn't need to do it. But once you buy your own property, it's cheaper to do it yourself.
That's a very
someone else.
Very grown up thing as well. I really like it. How old are you, Rob?
44.
44. So, I'm 32, and I don't think we're the generation of build your own house type people. My dad is definitely the guy who will go and just do it himself. But is it scary suddenly owning a property and having to then do that work yourself?
There's a challenge within it, finding the time to do it and then learning on the job, understanding. But there's a lot of good people here that are willing to give you a bit of advice here or there and sort of tell you what to do. I'm good at lugging. I'm good at breaking things. I'm good at throwing stuff in barrel.
Any of the manual labour stuff?
Any of the heavy stuff, I'm quite good at.
You just get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. We've been lucky. Natalie's dad has come over, spent a number of months with us, so he's really put us in the right direction.
Oh, you need those dads, don't you?
Unbelievable.
They are unbelievable. They rock up and they kick a wall. They go, oh, I know what I'm doing there. I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And so obviously you've come here recently.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background, because let's go all the way back to the beginning. Where the hell are you from?
Originally, grew up in a small seaside town in Devon called Seaton. Went to school in Sidmouth, just along the road in the coast. Beautiful, natural sort of environment, small communities.
Oh, similar to this?
Very similar to this, which was one of the reasons of the draws. Went to school in the local comprehensive, and then managed to get enough GCSEs and A-levels to get myself to university. Went to Birmingham University, studied sport, physical education, and community studies. And then thought, well, I best have a job at the end of it. I quite like coaching, and I quite like working with young children at that age. So I'd done a bit of coaching in the States, and I like traveling the world. So PE teacher was an obvious next step.
Wow.
Everything.
Well, since you are the PE teacher and the deputy head teacher of St Anne's School,
acting deputy head for the term,
pretending,
acting up, yeah.
He's just pretending, everybody. Well, I imagine there might be a few kids listening to this. So tell me, what were you like as a kid?
I was good as gold, always listening to the teachers, never shouting out.
Nonsense.
Just push that nose back in. I think I was probably a run-of-the-mill sort of boy. I would have thought I enjoyed a lot of sports. I was always listening in PE lessons. I enjoyed art. Found sort of maths lessons enjoyable, and I understood it, which transferred across the board. Some writing subjects a little bit more of a challenge for me, sort of English, history, although I did enjoy the content in both. So a little bit cheeky at times.
You have quite a few cheeky kids in your school. I have had the pleasure of documenting the magic of St Anne's School, and I really valued it. It was last year. We spent probably a good, 4 or 5 months just in and out of different lessons and being able to capture those magical moments. And I think it's the best video I've ever made, because I'm not in it. It's like a vlog through the eyes of a child, and it was really great just to capture those little subtle moments and see. I don't know. There's something about the small class sizes here. How would you describe the education here in terms of the small class size? It seems that you've got a really one-to-one relationship with your pupils.
Yeah, it's bespoke to the island. It's unique in terms of educational settings that I've taught in the past. Probably the biggest sort of positive is that you can build long-lasting relationships with the young people. You can help them, you can support them, you can really learn what makes them tick and how to challenge them and how to progress them on their sort of educational journey. I think the unique aspect of Alderney is that you are the PE teacher, or you're a teacher in the school, and then you're also setting up a jumble sale with some of the children. I don't know, maybe for the football club, or you are setting up, you're sort of doing a bit of a fundraiser on the high street, and the kids are seeing you there. They're serving you a coffee in Jack's. All these different interactions help to build a relationship with the young people, and obviously they learn that they see their teachers in school and that they see their teachers outside of school, and I think it really works well.
It's very unique. And so you're on half term now, or you've
Yep.
just been on half term?
Yep.
And so you really can't get away from these kids, can you? There is no chance that you're not going to be able to see a kid.
No, they're great kids.
Yeah.
They always wave and say hello as you're going along, to my face at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I love that as well, because I grew up in the UK, and I came here 5 or 6 times a year. So my school, I think, was about 1,500 kids, basically the size of this island, and so to then go into St Anne's and see, that they all know each other, and they're all so caring for each other. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of scraps, and I'm sure you're the man that they call in. Mr. Kirkland comes in, and
not really.
I mean, does that not happen? Because I mean, I guess that's one of the things when you're in a bigger school, you can kind of like bleed into the background. You can kind of get away with stuff. You have little relationships with someone here, and then you get in an argument with someone here. This seems like they're all just part of like their own gang.
No, it's a fantastic environment for them to grow up with. They become lifelong friends, and they've got people that they sort of grow and develop alongside. They're all friends outside of school. They're all friends inside of school. What the really nice thing to see is how the cascading of ages works at St Anne's, more so than other schools. In a larger comprehensive or larger secondary school or an international school, the year 7s stay with the year 7s. The year 10s are with the year 10s. It's uniquely different here because there isn't the depth of, or the number of children. You get the year 10s knocking about with the year 8s, and you see them fishing together, or they're playing football together, or they're on the beach knocking about, sort of enjoying the summer. And that cascades all the way down. So some of the year 6s, sort of a real sort of caring nature with the year 3s and the 4s, because they're all in it together, and I think they recognise that, and it comes back to the uniqueness of this island, and they've learned that that's their outlet, that's who their friends are, and they're all the better for it, I think.
So you did grow up in a seaside town, so you're used to some stunning scenery. But in terms of your career as a teacher, I mean, what's the largest school you taught in?
The school I worked at in the Middle East was, and we didn't quite push 2,000 children, but we were very, very close. I think 2,000
Wow.
would have been a complete capacity, but that was nursery, sort of a year before reception, all the way through to sixth form.
What's it like in the Middle East? I mean, hot.
Well, yeah, I haven't quite got used to the heat. Again, I think it's a fantastic part of the world. It's got all the mod cons. I think you only got to look on Instagram or whatever it is these days to see the influencers in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and this sort of millionaire fast track lifestyle. It is literally grown out of the sand in the last 20, 30 years, and it has all the mod cons. But with that, it has its growing stresses and its growing strains.
Is it really as perfect as you see on Instagram, or I mean, is there?
I don't think anything is as perfect as what Instagram shows. It's not as perfect as in there are not challenges, but I think that's human nature, and that's people all over the world will find challenges as the nature of life.
But is it English speaking? I mean.
Obviously, the local language is a form of Arabic. The local Emiratis in Abu Dhabi, they speak their sort of version of Arabic, which is different to Egyptian Arabic, but the same way that different levels of different.
Do you know
languages.
any Arabic? Are you?
Mahaba.
You can get by. You can get by a little
certainly
bit.
Can't get by. I can be polite and greetings. But look, it's got all the mod cons. It's got fantastic facilities. It's got a front foot forward approach. It wants to be the best in what it can be. The probable difference is it's got the cash and the petroleum dollars to be able to really go after that.
Why is that they have such a forward-thinking, innovative focus? Is it just because a lot of rich people get to go to a place and carve out their own culture?
No, probably the opposite, I would have said, from what I learned. I mean, I was there 9 years and did a bit of reading and got to know local families, and you're very much respectful of the local culture. They ensure that everything's a sort of visa basis, and you're a guest while working, and you respect their culture and you respect their laws and their religions and what have you. But they give you the opportunity to work and to enjoy your life there. So it's very open. I believe it's from the founder or of the nation, Sheikh Zayed, and his vision, which was then taken on by the two leading families in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, to make it a country for the world, really open the doors and to fast track it onto the state of the art cities that it is now.
I love that, man. There's something about good leaders, isn't there? Like when you get a good leader with a vision, there's nothing nicer than to just join them.
Well, you get behind them and follow them.
Yeah, and it's so nice, isn't it? Like, and I grew up in the Army Cadets, and so I got to rise through the ranks, and eventually people were looking at you, asking you what do we do, and you can see how actually someone needs to take charge, and but I find it just as fun and interesting following somebody who's got a vision and wants to go somewhere. And I think that's why I'm so grateful that you're here now, because before you were here, I mean, it wasn't that we didn't know what we didn't have, right? But the moment you came and you realized, right, well, better get stuck in other things, because you very quickly got involved in the football club, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, how did that all come about?
Well, sport is a personal interest. I'm a PE teacher by trade, but also a love of sport. Every which one I've got an interest in. Grew up playing a lot, so as you get older, your body slows down. All the injuries start to creak a bit more. I would still like to think I can do okay at a small five-a-side game of football, but I can't play anymore. I was still playing rugby in the Middle East, but the warm weather and the immaculate pitches worked for me. The cooler weather and the hard pitches and what have you just cause chaos with my body, havoc. So I've had to get involved in the local clubs, and I've always said if my daughter's going to go along, then I'll help. It would be silly for me to take my daughter to a club and stand on the sidelines and watch. It doesn't benefit. So I offered to help with the young footballers and do some bits and pieces. I then still want to be involved with the men's senior team. So I said, look, I can coach, let me come and do some goalkeeper training, whatever the case may be, just help. It's a community run club. It's for the community. And it is all based on people just pitching up and doing what they can do. With a background in what I've got a background in, I was able to put on a few young sessions for the younger kids. I was able to do some goalkeeper training for the men's team. And it just grew from there, really.
Wow. And now you're the chairman.
Yes.
You're the chairman of a football club.
Yeah,
your friends back in the Middle East must be like, God, Rob's doing so well. He got headhunted to this tiny little island where they got loads of cash, and now he's the chairman of their international football club.
There's a couple bits and pieces that are not quite true in that, but yeah. I think they just think, look, I think it's synonymous with me and what I do. Anyway, I like to be involved. I like to help, and if I've got a skill set which can help, then I've got a skill set which can help. It is a fantastic committee which has been allowing football to be part of this island for decades. It's not a new club. It's not a new organisation. There's people that have been there from playing in the 90s that are still working within the club setup now.
Wow.
And give their time, give their energies so freely. It's incredible. Obviously, it takes someone to take a certain role, and I seem to fit that role, and I was happy to do it, happy to help. And one of the things that is great, we are a unique club. We are our own football association. In essence,
I love that.
In essence, the charity is Alderney Football Association. We're not registered with UEFA or FIFA or anyone like that, but just for understanding, Guernsey and Jersey can't get registered with UEFA. So it's not that we can't, because we haven't. It's just we're nowhere.
So do we have our own transfer rules? Like, can we get Ronaldo?
We could, ultimately.
Wow. All right. So if there's any great football players out there that want to come and play for Alderney FC,
you know what? We're joking, but we're deadly serious as well. And that's one of the biggest challenge and threat to this football club is the number of young, able men to be able to play. What we've got is a fantastic group of dedicated men that represent the island week in, week out when we have fixtures, dedicate themselves to the club and to performing well and to the standard that they can, but we don't have enough of them.
We don't have enough of them.
We just need 3 or 4 more of a competitive level, and we would run the Guernsey Prio team, which is a Premier League, close.
Wow. Well, because let's talk a bit about this, because
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
have had a little stretch of losses. I mean, we've won a couple of games, right?
Yep. Well, within the 2 years I've been there, we had the first season in the Prio, which is the Guernsey Premier Division, for want of a word, with 7 other teams. They've got clubs, they've got men signed on, and by men I mean 16 upwards.
Yeah.
Representing a men's team. They can probably field 3 teams at some instances, and
so they've got an A team, a B
they've
team.
They've got an A, a B, a vets,
bloody hell,
and
wow.
then an 18s, and then a 16s, which is what a local setup is for an island of that size. Which is not uncommon. That's normal, especially for an island of Guernsey. We don't have those luxuries.
So we have an A team.
We've got a men's team, an A team, a first team. So the first season in the Prio, we started. We had some good results here, but just getting the men off the island and getting them to fixtures, and the number of fixtures meant we sustained a few heavy losses, sort of the 4s and 5s. Never sort of down tools, but it's a bit disheartening.
Yeah.
Last season, we dropped down a league into the Reserve League. And before Christmas, we took part in 7 games. I think we finished 3rd overall, sort of winning more than we lost. We lost a couple when they put Prio players in, or they put first team players in. And then we just had the second half of the season, which is after Christmas, in the Cup, which you play a round robin sort of, and then the top 4 go through. And we were narrowly beaten in the semi-finals of the Cup. So dropping down a league has allowed the number of players that we've got, plus the association with a club in Guernsey, to be more sort of successful, because their players can come in and help. They're not ready for that next level to the Prio, the ones from Guernsey-based players that come in, but we do know if we've got 3 or 4 extra players, then we could get back in that Prio and be competitive. So that's the target.
Well, look, if there's anything I've learned about football, cash is king. So I guess at what point do we need to raise more money, get more sponsorship? How do you go about manage? Because now you have to manage the finance of a club. You're not just the coaching and the players.
No. The finance. Yeah, you're right. There's probably a roundabout way of doing this. We're very fortunate that the committee and the community raise significant amounts of funds across the year to be able to facilitate the football that we offer, not just for the men, but also for the youth football. And we can move on to that a little bit later, the youth football, because the next generation coming through is thriving.
Ah, brilliant.
We'll come on to it. But the challenge will always be this. So the men's first team at this moment in time.
Because they've got to get on and off the island for games.
They've got to get on and off the island for games. All competitive games are in Guernsey. There is a return fixture here, but there's more there just because of the natural arrangement and the financial challenges that the Guernsey clubs have, along with us. So it's an arrangement
and how much is it per player to get off? I mean, we're talking
return flight.
So what's that, like
£170?
£170 for a 5-10 minute flight.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I think every fixture, if we normally take 10 players, and then obviously we collect players from Guernsey, the Guernsey-based players. And then a coaching staff, so there's 11 seats.
I love that, because the Alderney people who are now based in Guernsey are actually still from Alderney.
They've never given up.
I love that. That's cheaper, isn't it?
They never want to give up. Yeah, they can play. We need more of them. The biggest challenge, okay, we've got a fantastic committee that raises, and the community support the club. We've got brilliant professionals on the committee, which help to navigate sponsorship opportunities within the community. So that's important to sort of, and we've just extended a deal with Stenham's shirt sponsors, and they've committed for another 3 years, which is really going to help the whole club survive. And I think it's important that we understand that the work we do now will safeguard the club in 10 years' time for when the younger generation who love the football, boys and girls, more boys than girls, but boys that love the football, have got a team to represent. So
Mhm.
this is what we're doing now, so that in 10 years, these young 8, 9, 10-year-olds have a team, which is
Brilliant. Wow.
important.
Building a legacy, mate.
Well, the biggest challenge is getting players in. What we need to do is we're not a transfer team. We don't have unlimited funds. It's not that way. But we could be more clever in the way that we deliver and the way that we think of things, which is the job opportunities that there are on the island, which are filled by young, fit men. There's a huge building trade on the island. There's a huge service industry in some of the hotels and the guest houses and what have you. And the states obviously employ a number of majority men to do manual jobs or different bits and pieces. My question is, why can't those men have boots, will play mentality, have guitar, will play mentality, but have a pair of boots? So if we could target men that can play and that are willing to come to Alderney and work, then that's how we survive this.
Interesting.
This
It reminds me a bit of what's that prison movie where they form a football team,
Oh, yeah.
Mean Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Alderney is not a prison, by the way.
No.
You're not coming here to serve time. But it is amazing island, and I think if you are an
Phenomenal.
able-bodied person in the UK and you love football and you want to get away from all that hustle and bustle of of that life, and you're right. There's apart from the money, there's actually loads of opportunities here just within a community.
Phenomenal.
You put out a message and say, guys, we need to even find a place for someone to stay.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to find this unless you know someone here, and
Yeah.
so. It is about getting in touch, isn't it? And you'd like people to reach out to you to
we're hopefully gonna start a bit of a campaign.
Brilliant.
Which will go through. I've committed to it now. If I'm verbalizing it, but it is there. Go through the chambers of commerce. Reach out to local businesses. Speak to some of the larger employers. What are you looking for? What are your needs? And then we can, through our social media, our Facebook, we can create sort of adverts which go onto these players wanted pages, which litter the whole of the UK.
I love that.
So we're hunting and we're searching, and there's a few opportunities. So.
I love it. So if you've been dropped into the B team recently, guys, and you want to be back in that first team, then get in touch. I mean, it's an amazing club. And I really, I think when you go to a match day, you see the whole island, and that's the real island. I know that in the summer, there's a lot of tourism and there's a lot of second homeowners, which is amazing to see. But in the bleak midwinter, or times when it's just the weather's awful, you get down and they're all showing their support. Everyone's wearing blue, and you just see that this is what a real community is about.
It's a real community club. It's a beating heart of the island. And everyone comes together to show their support when we come out, and we're happy to represent the island as best we can.
I love that. So I've done a bit of drone filming around the club, and I'm a bit confused because the size of the pitch doesn't seem as big as some of the pitches that I've seen before. Is this a full-size pitch?
It's a regulation pitch. Pitches can vary within dimensions of what they are. They don't have to be as big as Wembley.
Oh, interesting.
So there is a sort of a range that a pitch has to be within, and it is well within that range. Could it be wider? Well, there's a wall at a certain point, and the moles like that corner, so it's probably not best to disturb them too much. Lengthwise, it's not too far off.
I love that. We're just about making the regulation. Yeah. It's like getting on a ride at a roller coaster. It's like, I've got this.
No, it's not far off.
But you are you're surrounded by history as well. You've got Fort Albert on there. You've got the Arsenal, just next to it. And then you've got this amazing, club, which you've recently had some refurbs, right?
Yep. We've I'll pay homage to the previous chairman, James Taylor, and the chairman before that, Reg Atkins, rest his soul, raised a significant amount of money, I believe Reg did, to help facilitate the upgrading of the changer rooms. Mm-hmm. So we've now, I think it was, a significant amount of cash was donated and raised through various sources. Pete Concannon, Josh Concannon, a number of the other players have been tirelessly working on that, and it was ready for this year's Marathi, and it looks fantastic.
I love it. And Reg did have a very big, he has such a big heart, and he loved the club so much, but his fundraising methods were always what people loved the most. He'd walk into a pub, he'd say, right, I need a fiver from everyone, and he'd just get it done, you know. So if there's anything inspirational about that, it is the fact that, you know, just be bold, go out, and you know, because it is such an important part of our community. We are all really excited for a win, right? I mean, there's how many years is it? Is it 105 years, 106 years since we've won a Marathi?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to happen in your reign as chairman?
Do you know what? I'd like to say it would happen in my lifetime. We'll see how long I commit. But actually, the challenges of beating those Jersey or Guernsey are.
So the Marathi is the Inter-Islands, and that would be big for us, right? Because
it's happened in 1920, I think, the last time.
Wow, before the Germans arrived.
I believe it was a team of garrison soldiers that were representing the island because they were here after the First World War, rebuilding. I don't know exactly, and they won the semi-final and then they won the final.
Wow, we really need to get some money from these big production companies. If you want to start a Netflix documentary about winning the Marathi, it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Just to get and because of our transfer rules, there may be a few extra.
There is, we sit within an inter-island committee which Jersey, Guernsey, and ourselves sit on to make sure that we maintain sort of fairness across the board. They're only allowed to play certain players that have been born or registered here, and non-professional based players. So Matt Letitia can't come over and play for Guernsey, for example, or Maya Letitia, who's a Manchester United captain for ladies. She can't play for the Guernsey team because they're professionals. So there's a series of sort of rules and laws which we abide by.
So we can't just get Messi?
No, unfortunately.
Damn it! I was going to call him up, and I was just saying, Messi, get your ass over to Alderney, mate. We need you in Spanish, apparently.
Yeah, of course. I think look, there's rules which we abide by. You have to be on the island, and you have to have played a number of games before you're able to represent the club.
I want to take a very quick break to thank Bell & Co for helping to sponsor this episode. If you're looking for a place to live on Alderney, whether it's renting or buying, go and visit Bell & Co. They have all the information about what's available on Alderney and can also help guide you to some of the best things to do on the island. Go and visit bellandcoalderney.com and find out how you can escape to paradise. Back to the episode. Dude, I absolutely love this, man. I feel like because obviously this island does have a longevity issue. I mean, we're a very aging community, and I love hearing you talk about the future of anything, because I think a lot of people don't are just very much happy just to let things go on. But I believe that with your campaign to get young football players here, I'm excited, man. I might even try out.
Come along.
Yeah, I can kick a ball.
Good. Have boots, will play. That's all we need.
Have boots, will play. Is that written on the back of your shirts?
Can play. Have boots, can play. Look, we open the door to everyone and anyone. We've got a number of people that have shown an interest, and then we'll see if we can get them on the island.
I love that.
But we need work, and we need accommodation, and so that I think there's work on every level, from what I understand. Obviously, my head's fully ingrained in the school, but I know from it
all overlaps, doesn't it?
It does. The island's here. The island needs labourers. The island needs service staff. The island needs young professionals. The island needs. So
we need a football team.
We do. We've got a football team. We just need a few players.
We need a few players, and this is lovely because I mean, clearly people were very busy in the pandemic, because there's been quite a little spurt of youngsters running around who are part of your young football team. And it's lovely seeing them down at the club. Like they just, and they're so cute, aren't they? I mean, you've got a beautiful daughter, and she's part of the team.
Yeah, she's part of the under-8s team that has played and represented Guernsey, Alderney in Guernsey. There's under-7s. We go down to under-6s. Obviously, that's just a taster to football. We've got a number of boys and girls at under-9s, and then it's sort of due to the nature of the number of children on the island, the 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, all sort of merge into one group of players, which is about sort of 10 players.
Mm-hmm.
And we do structured practices, and they don't play together in a competitive setting, but we can create an environment and
Well, you definitely create the
opportunity.
environment. Do you know, I'm at the age now where a lot of my friends are having kids, and
It will come.
I'm sure, yeah, apparently you have to have a partner for that. But Alderney is such a family-friendly place, and there's nothing nicer than to see a young family out on the beaches, out on the football pitch, being really, and you don't see this in London. You go to London, no one would even dream of leaving their kid in a buggy outside a shop, whereas here and there's just something about this. I mean, was this something that drew you to Alderney? Did you even know? How did you even come to Alderney? This is such a random place for you to come to, especially after being in the Middle East.
Yeah, good story. I sailed past Alderney on my way to Guernsey as a young man from Devon with my father. He loved sailing, and he pointed it out. I remember because he was telling me about the tides and the rocks in this area. So
let's not go in there.
Let's not go too close to that one as we were heading our way into Guernsey. During the pandemic, we were sat in Abu Dhabi, and I think the nature of the pandemic made everyone question what they were doing and how they were doing it, and being close to family and being accessible to family. My profession, education, it's all online. Jobs are what used to be in the Times Educational Supplement. The newspapers are now just a website. So I went on there. I often looked at the Channel Islands. I looked at sort of jobs closer to the UK and in the UK, and I saw Alderney. And about halfway into the pandemic, applied for a PE job, didn't get it. It went to a local Guernsey-based teacher who, fantastic, great for her, and she did a fantastic job in the school. And then she had the opportunity to go back to Guernsey to Elizabeth College, which was what she wanted to do. And then the opportunity came at St Anne's again, and
wow,
Miss Wilson reached out.
So it's always good being a reserve.
I don't mind being a reserve.
You don't mind being a reserve.
It worked out really well, if I'm honest. It gave us another 2 years in the Middle East, which allowed me to pay off a mortgage, which I wouldn't have been able to do here.
No, of course.
But it allowed me to pay off a mortgage, which after the 2 years allowed me to come here.
And what did you think when you first came? I mean, did you have a bit of a test trip here? Did you come?
Your videos helped.
Wow.
There's videos of you skateboarding around this island, showcasing every nook and cranny. The Visit Alderney website and your videos, and then sort of having a poke and a bit of a nose through Facebook and what have you.
But you just did it. You
can always leave.
Wow.
You can always go, it's not for me. Thank you very much. I've rolled my dice, pick up and go. But that's my mentality of I'd rather fail trying than fail to try.
Yeah.
And Alderney, I although not being here, I had been to Guernsey relatively a few years ago, admittedly, but I had an idea what Guernsey was. And from the research that we did, I knew that Alderney would be even better in my opinions, just more community based. Obviously the size of it is a little bit more, allows that to happen, but we didn't know what it would be until we got here. We knew the beautiful beaches, you see all the stunning environment,
golden sand, the beautiful nature.
They never show the wind in the pictures, though, do they? That's the one thing.
No.
sunny days. No, look, it's everything and more than we could ever have thought it would be, and I think that's a unique. That's not unique. That's our line.
That's this island. And your wife has been very busy as well. Natalie's established a very good reputation for herself as a wellness and yoga teacher. She's probably just as busy as you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, she's a busy woman. She loves being part of the community. She loves helping. She loves her job. She's got a yoga. She's got a restorative health, which she's working with some of the aged members of the community. So she gets a chance to meet with them and work with them directly in the homes. Yoga weekends, general busyness, really.
what more do you want? I mean, like literally, like this is I'm always reflective of this because I've lived around the world and I've really enjoyed being busy and whatnot. But then I come back here and I go, actually, you've got that whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And above,
Yeah,
self-actualization,
yeah,
there is this idea of helping others and being part of a community, which is so rare in any bigger city or
yeah,
any
yeah.
other place. Because I mean, you wear multiple hats here, don't you?
You've got to. You have to. You haven't got a choice.
Yeah, yeah. And this is so where do you see yourself going now? Obviously with a young daughter here, and just all these things. Are you very happy just having a little bit of a slower pace of life? Do you ever get to go off and
Yeah. Where do I see myself? I see myself here. I'm all in, which is probably the biggest. My wife is, and my daughter is as well. It's easy to say I'm all in, but I'm saying that because of the conversations that we have together and the understanding that we've had and how the community has accepted us and how we have accepted the community, so on and so forth. Um, I've got a fantastic profession, which I'm very lucky to have on the island, and I think I can keep giving in that aspect. My wife enjoys the island. My daughter is she's just a kid. She's 8.
she's loving it though,
She's
isn't
just
she? Yeah.
loving it, every aspect of it. We'll just keep going. There's why put a time limit on something? Why say a 5-year plan? It's only what you do to try and control the future.
Yeah, see what happens. Maybe we'll have another pandemic.
I mean,
It was great here, by the way. I mean, I ditched living in a warehouse in London,
yeah,
and I was like, okay, guys, I gotta go. Came back here, and there was this bubble of like the bailiwick where you could go to Guernsey, and the Guernsey people come here. It was absolutely brilliant. And I mean, so I'm guessing your daughter doesn't remember that time. She was how old was your daughter?
no, she was in. We were in Abu Dhabi. She was before school. She started school, so she was 2000. Yeah, about 4.
About 4 years old.
Yeah, so we shielded her from as best you can and maintained everything that you have to do.
How do you even explain what's going on to a
Well,
kid
this
that
is
age? It's
the
like,
out of the mouth of babes. Mummy, daddy, we went to bed and the next morning we woke up and the virus was here. And it struck me that her life had changed, even though we were doing our best to showcase and not allow her to see the changes and the challenges, because it's a lot for her to understand. It's a lot for everyone to understand. But we came through it and we managed to get to this little place. And like
hey,
everyone,
you give me the goosebumps, man. Yeah, the virus is here. God, it's such a weird time, wasn't it? And it was so, and hindsight's a wonderful thing,
course,
like,
yeah.
you look back and everything, but it was a very, very weird time. Well, I'm very grateful that you're here. And obviously, your family's been integrated in so
Yep.
many ways. Yeah, when are we going to get you in the Alderney Theatre Club? That's what I want to know. Your daughter took part in
She did.
the recent
Yep.
Vicar of Dibley.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a role for you coming up.
Natalie's been involved. We've had an adult Kirkland in. She was
Amazing.
involved in a summer production with the guys. I think if I could offer something of value, then I would.
Yeah, we'll get you in as a tree.
Maybe. I was fortunate to see behind the scenes and the amount
Yeah.
of effort and dedication and the ability that those people, the performers, it's a community production, it's an ordinary theatre group, but it's so much more than that. There's real technical and sort of professional level actors and behind the scenes work. And I just don't think I can do it justice
Well,
with the time that's needed at this moment in time.
there is plenty of time
Yeah, I'm
to rope you in. And that's the thing, is that like you could be useful on this island in so many ways that you just couldn't be, if you need someone to do something in the UK,
Yeah.
you'll find the exact specialist that can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Here it's like, can anyone do this? And then
Yeah.
no one answers and you go, okay, I'll do it then.
Yeah, yeah.
And then suddenly you are a football manager.
Yeah.
You know?
What's brilliant here is that when there isn't something, so many people put their hand up and step forward to create it so that it can happen. And that's, I think, across the board, and that's with regards to theatre. There's musical opportunities, there's singing opportunities, there's incredible karate opportunities. It just rolls on, and it's from people that are willing to, because they value it. And then it's on your doorstep, and everywhere's 5 minutes away. So although you can be late,
Yeah, well, that is genuinely a thing for me on this island. I'm always running late. But that's I just it's Alderney time.
better.
We call it Alderney time because it's old. It's like ish.
Yeah,
It's like if you say like 1:30, it's like ish. I love those clocks. Have you seen those
yeah,
those Alderney
yeah.
clocks? They're absolutely wonderful. Okay, so then, so tell me then. So we spoke a little bit about cryptocurrencies,
A
because
while
you
ago.
you must have been in the, I mean, Abu Dhabi
Yeah,
and the Middle
yeah,
East was absolutely thriving
yeah.
on that. So you are very interested in
I,
technology and stuff
yeah,
like this.
it can't not be. When you read the headlines that Abu Dhabi government are going to invest 350 billion into blockchain technology, and it's going to be the hub within the city where you live in, it pricks your interest. It can't not. Um, just being aware of different developments in the world. You hear about Bitcoin launching. Even my wife actually said we should be buying this Bitcoin. But no, no, it's a flash in the pan, love. It won't last. There's no trust in it. 13 years later.
Boom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's nothing that says that more than Robert McDowell, one of our residents in Alderney, in 2012, I believe it was, he attempted to mint an Alderney Bitcoin,
yeah.
in a commemorative coin that would have had a Bitcoin inside of it. And I think it was valued at about $111 back then. And if and now it's $111,000.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you'd invested £1,000 in our Alderney Bitcoins back then, we'd all be millionaires. And this is kind of where, I don't think this sort of technology, and whether it's, the internet or blockchain or cryptocurrencies, this technology would never have been thought about 50 years ago. And I think, but one of my biggest things at the moment is the fact that we're in this transformative time where we are going through this technology shift.
Yeah.
And I don't want Alderney to miss out on adopting these things. And this is why social media is important.
Yeah.
This is why obviously we're doing what we're doing. There is also an element of, you go, well, do we want anyone to come here? Do we want the world to know that we live on this beautiful little paradise?
Probably the best way of looking at it from a different perspective is they don't have to come here to be involved in it. This is what cryptocurrencies, and this is what that open nature, the open source nature, and that ability to share, the ability to invest, and the ability to hold. It doesn't exist in a tangible place. You don't. If I take a Bitcoin with me, it's with me in an electronic wallet. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting in England, sitting in the Seychelles, or sitting in Alderney. So if to invest in something it's like a popular culture, it doesn't take to come here to own it. I think, and I certainly don't understand the tax laws or the sort of the financial institutions on how they work, but I do know that the Channel Islands has an open policy to certain sort of understandings.
I mean, this has actually just given me a wonderful idea. I mean, surely the Alderney Football Club would accept cryptocurrencies as donations, because there's a huge amount of, I mean, the culture around crypto people, particularly these Bitcoin maximalists, they call them now, people who have literally sold all of their fiat cash and they're completely in on cryptocurrencies, which I don't know how they sleep at night, seeing it going up and down. But if you are a Bitcoin millionaire out there and you want to, give the Alderney Football Club, I mean, would you have a conversation, right?
We do need a conversation. If people want to pass money on Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything they want,
we'll take it.
We'll accept.
We'll take it.
We'll put a wallet link up for you.
I love that, because actually I think there is an opportunity there, because I mean, there is a lot of the new money from these sort of cryptocurrencies. They don't have the same culture as old money. They're not in it. I mean, let's be honest, if you did invest in Bitcoin back then and suddenly you're worth hundreds of millions, you do have a bit of cash to throw around.
A little bit of excess.
You got a little bit of excess, but because they come from these humble beginnings where they can see it, I think there is a culture there. I have been thinking a lot, because we've had a few people on the island who are into cryptocurrencies, and so to think of this island as a place where it's crypto friendly. I know that Bitcoin Alderney has just started. We've got a young man on the island who's helping people in the retail space accept Bitcoins, and it's quite funny watching it, really, because you set them up with their wallet on their phone, and then they transfer their sats, and then they're like, so what do I do with it now? And you're like, you can give it to someone else if you want, like your cash, because and it's such a new thing to try and understand. I mean, my parents don't understand it, and yet they've invested in it, and that's brilliant. But it does take time, doesn't it? My mum is like well into ChatGPT at the moment. She loves it. But it will come, won't it? It will come through people. And
Gary V, who
now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Gary V explained it and said no one will ever there will be never a need for a takeaway. People won't want to eat out. If people want to eat out, they'll go to a restaurant. They won't ever order a takeaway. Oh, well, okay, so then takeaways open up. Right, all of a sudden, takeaways are a viable part of... Okay, so no one will ever deliver a takeaway to your house. No one will ever go on, make the telephone call, the takeaway is arriving. Now we've transferred sort of 5, 10 years, 15 years, our lifetime. You're now on an app, okay, maybe not in Alderney, but you're on an app with a Deliveroo, looking at what you want, tap, 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 and then it's delivered to your door. It's the space of consumerism or how we engage and how we pay and how we sort of transfer cash, for want of a word, or is changing. And like everything, it takes time for other people to get up to speed with it. But the Bitcoin bubble is not a bubble anymore.
Hell no, man. It's serious. And annoyingly, it's like, Ethereum hasn't gone through that same growth. And it's a shame because I used to work a lot with with Ethereum, and I was running crypto meetups. So, and actually back then, there was still, Bitcoin hadn't really had it exploded a little bit, but people were actually building on the Ethereum blockchain. And for anyone that doesn't really understand the differences, it's kind of like Bitcoin's like a store of value. It's like just cash, and Ethereum's like the app store. You can build these decentralized applications, making it very secure, meaning you basically can't hack it unless you take over, more than half the network. But back then, everyone was so ingrained in the details that we didn't see the bigger picture, and that bigger picture is, well, what happens when a few of these big whales, these multi-billionaires decide to start investing in Bitcoin? It's like, oh Jesus, suddenly people are using it now, and I think
that's happened, hasn't it?
It's happening. It's happening more and more and more. But I love the idea. It's mutable. I love the fact that the inflation has absolutely killed the West. The fact that we've been printing money through quantitative easing just for crises. And I understand a crisis. I mean, fair enough. But when suddenly you look at your bills and they're doubling in cases, and you're going, but I'm just and particularly like with pensions, I feel so sorry for pensioners right now, because they literally have worked their whole life to make sure that they get to retire and have a great life. And now what we're saying is that actually that money's no longer worth what it was, and now it's worth half. So you better go find a job. And that's nuts to me, so the fact that with Bitcoin, it can only really keep getting bigger. And who knows what's going to happen, like one day something terrible could happen in the world. I don't know. No one actually has a clue, but actually knowing a little bit about everything is a very good idea. I also know that sometimes when I know a little bit about everything, I also know that I know a lot about nothing. I'm like, actually, like, I think I know about stuff, but I don't really know about stuff.
Depth instead of...
I'm very wide across a lot of subjects, and but I've often been called a bloody know-it-all because I'm dyslexic. So when I was growing up, it was about listening to audiobooks and making sure I always had headphones in. I was into basketball, so my biggest achievement was playing for the Southampton Trailblazers when I was 11, and I got into the 12 team, and in my head I was like, whoa, they want me a year earlier. That was all stopped by a snapped elbow, which came through getting rugby tackled off a bed. But during that time, I realized that I wasn't going to be an academic that was going to read books. So I just listened to my headphones, my little Walkman, my little mini disc player, and I'd be listening to these books. And so I've read over 1,000 books at the moment on my Audible. And you get this knowledge of experts who've spent a lifetime. And you get to listen to that. And I think that's such a weird thing, because my parents' generation didn't have that. They had to go to a library or go to university and study. But I really want to encourage people to, almost stop the music for a bit, and realize that, like, if you've got this found time, you're going to the gym, you're going for a walk, podcasts, audiobooks, you know, they can sharpen your saw in many ways, and it
Absolutely.
makes it easier to chop the tree down, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There's so much accessible information nowadays. There's almost much information to an extent. We're almost connected to these phones, pushes and pulls of information, and trying to people get in touch with you. But the ability to listen to podcasts, to get a bit of an insight into something, to learn a little bit more, it's really beneficial. I think there's cryptocurrencies are going to go for a long time. I think they reflect the human communities and the human societies. So there's good and bad on there. There's there's positives. What is becoming more and more the institutional buy-ins from some of the larger organizations. Go and look to see what BlackRock are holding, and if they're holding
a lot, a huge amount.
And say what you will about Mr. Trump, his bid to harvest bitcoins and to store them for the US is for a reason. They know what's coming. I have in the past built on the blockchain, and we've done like NFT projects and enjoyed that. So that was good fun. And then just dabbled around with the different currencies, and
I love it. You're literally you're interested, and I think
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a real interest. This is what I find funny as well, because I was at youth club a couple of months ago, and I remember having a conversation with some kid who knew so much about philosophy. And I thought, where the hell did you learn all this from? You know, and it is a bloody know-it-all, isn't it? And when it happens to you, and there's some kid telling you what you don't know, I'm like, shit, you know,
I got that up.
Yeah, you know, and I get it. There is a resistance to when someone comes in and changes your world. It can be tough. But what I love about kids is that they've grown up with this.
Yeah,
and
of course.
So like, you know, the technology that maybe my parents are struggling with. These kids are just so adaptive. They understand it. You know, even the user interface of an iPhone or any phone, they know instinctively what the grayed out box means or what the arrows mean.
Well, they've grown up with it, they've engaged with it, they're learning with it, and they understand how it works. Because of complete engagement. It's the same as how someone who can mix cement and build a wall, they just understand the consistency. If you've never mixed cement, you're going to get it wrong.
Yeah, you don't know it.
But it's experience, it's time on the job, it's time interacting with it, and that's what makes them more proficient with it. Whereas my generation, we're sort of hanging on realistically with the technology and engaging with it. You know, it was only 20 years ago we didn't have smartphones.
I know.
It's not that long ago.
Do you remember your first phone? What was
Nokia, I don't know, is it 3310 or something
3310 with Snake. I love that. Well, you don't seem to be hanging on. You seem to be letting go. I mean, do you think
you've got to go with the flow? You've got to go with it because it's happening. And if you stand back and ignore all of it, it's like anything new. If you stand back and ignore and say, I am full with information, I know what I know, I don't need to learn anymore, I've got to 44, well then you're not gonna evolve. You know, we're ever evolving, we're ever developing and understanding. It doesn't mean we've lost what we were. I used to love football and watch every game of football that I could possibly watch. I now will not limit myself, but probably only watch about 5 a year.
Wow.
And that's a difference from every week, every match.
Yeah. Who is your team?
It used to be Manchester United as a kid, and you could probably say because they're doing so bad. That's why I've lack of interest. I just, life changes and your outlooks change, and it doesn't mean I don't like grassroots football. I think my commitment has shown that I absolutely love grassroots football. I was fortunate enough to go and watch the Marathi final sort of 2 weekends ago. It was a brilliant day. Absolutely.
And who won that one?
Guernsey won 3-1. Beat a Jersey team deservedly on the day. But it was a great day out. It was everything what grassroots football should be. Young people, old people, families, local cause. It's a little bit detached from the multimillionaires that are playing the sport now. I understand why, but it's that I have an interest in.
I'm glad that you're not, playing so much these days, because I only watch football. I don't really like football, if I'm being honest with you. But I watch it on the telly. I play FIFA. And then I go to one of your football games and I see bodies just colliding. And I'm like, I cannot believe these guys are running like head first against each other to get a ball, and sometimes you can hear the collision and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, and on Alderney, like, obviously, as you said earlier, the pretty picturesque sunny day is nothing compared to the bleak winter,
Winds coming in.
rain, and I'm guessing that pitch gets a little harder as the temperature drops.
Yeah, yeah.
They got a lot of balls doing what they do, don't they? I mean, getting on the pitch.
I think we all do it for different reasons at different times of our life. I think it to philosophize a little bit. I think it takes us back to hunter-gatherer days, where we were a group of men hunting an elusive prey. It's just that it's changed to being a ball.
I love that. Wow, that's really cool.
Against another tribe, or you're defending your space against another tribe, which is sort of two teams hunting a ball or trying to. There's something primeval about it. There's something relating deep within our DNA, our understanding, our need to compete, our want to compete, our want to challenge ourselves. And in this instance, it's football, which is a vehicle that we do it. It could well and truly be rugby. It can well and truly be paddle. That it can be any sport. It can be long distance cycling. It can be swimming. It's just this need to challenge yourself or to compete or to set yourself up against another. In this instance, a group of men with a common goal of trying to outperform them.
I really like that. I like that you're very aware of where we came from, evolutionary speaking, because I think that's one of the misunderstandings about human beings, is that we almost kind of imagine that the way that we've been in the last couple of hundred years is the way we always have been, and it brings me on to the kind of the idea of men's mental health, because men unfortunately have a higher suicide rate than women, and men can often struggle in silence. They're not so open to just sitting around and talking about their problems. And sadly, the statistics around suicide attempts is that women take on average 6 attempts and men take 1. Now, I'm not saying that men like to get the job done or anything, but it's such a shame to think that we're now in a society where it's hard to get men out away from the video games. It's hard to get them running around and getting that exercise, building that testosterone. But I mean, you must know that having a thriving football club, being a great leader in the community, that does so much for the young men on this island.
Well, I don't know about being a great leader in the community. I'm a member of the community that does bits and pieces, but you've got to have a focus, which is bigger than what you are. You've got to have a connection to an energy, or you've got to have a connection to a source that is more than you can deliver on your own. Being part of a team, being part of a community, no matter what it is. If you look at the Alderney Theatre Group, that's a team, that's a community, that's its own life force, with a number of people taking a lead role and a number of people supporting behind the scenes, behind the stage. But it is all coming together for one common goal. It's the same way you're connected as in a sport. It's one common goal, one unique sort of opportunity to work with people. We are by nature a social animal, a social being. We need a community, we need friends, we need family, we need a connection. I also think, and some people say you take on too much, but you need a focus, you need a challenge, you need something. Maybe you should sit and smell the roses a little bit and enjoy where you're at. But I think this island, you can balance that, because it was only yesterday, should we go for a bike ride? Yeah, let's go. And then we were along the up and downs, sitting with a flask of tea at the Gannets. And the world is a million miles away, and you've got this unbelievable setting, and it's goosebumps. It's there on your doorstep. Or you go, well, I'm going to walk the dog. Where am I going to go today? I'm going to go along to Clonk and then up the zigzags.
That's it. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so I'm going to do that to get me onto the top. And you're like, this is it's absolutely breathtaking. But then within that, you've got that ability to disconnect, to plunge yourself into nature, which is hugely important, especially for young men, especially for mental well-being, away from video games, away from
the screens,
stagnant living, screens, connected, whatever the case may be. to plunge yourself back into nature, to plunge yourself into the sea,
Yeah,
which is a
yeah.
fantastic thing, to learn new skills. This island, it's an abundance of opportunities, but you have to then go and do it. And coming back to sort of young men and being part of something bigger than themselves and being connected with other men, it's what we've done for millennia. You know, fire gazing and discussing challenges and problems are something that men have done. We listen to the elder statesmen because they've done it.
Yeah.
It's you don't. If I listen to someone to help me plaster, I'm not going to go to someone that's never plastered before.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask for someone who's got experience and knows what they're doing, so that when they do it and they can teach me, I'm going to listen and learn. It doesn't matter that they're older or younger; they're just experienced. And I think it's coming back to the sport. Why Alderney? It's just that ability to connect as a group of people with a common cause.
Well, you're certainly bringing the glue to this island. I absolutely love it. I'm really, really grateful as well. I mean, I know that you'll be humble, to hear it, but you are a role model. And for me, to see you, taking on new challenges and being a leader, I think that's so inspirational. Who are your inspirations? I mean, where does your who's your role models? I mean, can you think back to some characters in your life that really helped steer you in a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think most young men look directly what the influence is, and that's your father, without a shadow of a doubt. He's sadly passed away in my mid-20s, but he was a larger than life character. He ran his own businesses. He was on the front foot, always wanting to, maybe not so much the community aspect of it, but have a new challenge or a new sort of focus or a new drive, or depending on what he wanted to do at that period in time. So there's definitely one. I'm tending not to say I want to copy someone, because I just see goodness in a lot of what people do across the board. So you always think, well, can you turn up and just help? Because that is ultimately enough. Can you turn up and just listen? Then that is ultimately enough, because there's plenty that haven't. So even just turning up and being there is a step in the right direction. And then I suppose you just look at people, and people do incredible things. If you look at someone like Alex Ferguson, who in the world of sport has taken on a football club in the late 80s and had all the challenges in the world and grew it from a sleeping giant to the biggest behemoth. But that's his life work. So you get to see that his journey from this side of the screen or this side of the newspaper to understand it. But that's 4 or 5 of dedication and commitment to a cause that he found. I mean, the other thing that I love is the British and Irish Lions, which are coming up on tour to go to Australia, sorry. Previous one in South Africa. I played rugby for 9 years before I left the Middle East. It's football here in Alderney. It was rugby there. It doesn't matter. I'm a better football coach. I was a better football player. I played better rugby than I was playing football in sort of mid to late 30s. Seeing the British and Irish Lions and listening to sort of Andy Farrell and the way that he engages with the men and the way that he leads them, the way that he doesn't just speak, he shows it, he does it. You've got to be the first boots on the field and the last boots off the field.
I love that. Inspirational.
If you don't do it, people won't follow you.
I'd hate to play rugby against you.
You just run round me. I
would try my best to stay as far away from you as physically
possible. I think I got too slow.
No. Well, listen, Rob, thank you so much for coming in here today and sharing your story and sharing. I mean, we could go on for hours. I'm sure we really could. But I just want to say that I'm really grateful for having you on the island, and thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time.